Call the school board meeting to order. I'd like to begin by asking Ms. Boyle if she'll lead us in our prayer and pledge.
Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray, come before you this morning and ask for your wisdom and guidance as we move through our meeting. We know there are some students and families that need your healing, also need your guidance, need your protection. Lead them down a right path instead of a wrong path. Please be with those in the hospitals and give them a speedy recovery so their families have less worry. Only you know our struggles and our hearts. Each day, lead us a little bit closer to you and let us show grace and kindness to everyone in our lives, because only you know what they're going through and we don't, but a little kindness, we always know, goes a long way. We ask this in your name.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle.
You're welcome.
At this time, do I hear a motion to adopt our agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes to adopt our agenda today. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Thank you very much for coming today. Looks like we have a nice group, and thank you for taking the time to be at our school board meeting. Mr. Coward.
Yes, ma'am. At this time, and continuing so with our superintendent highlights to showcase the good works that our students and our staff are doing. So at this time, I'm going to have Dr. Hancock and Ms. Richardson, our principal and AP at Wilson-L, come forward, and I'll let them introduce their special guests. So.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We're excited. We brought some friends with us to kind of highlight some fun things that have happened at West and have grown over the years into this really neat club that's meeting. So we're going to start off with a video, just kind of give you some background of how it started, and then we're going to ask our friends to come up and kind of talk a little bit more about it, our experts.
So when Ms. Hamlin and Dr. Hancock asked me to start a STEAM unit at the school here, I was very excited, and my goal was to make sure the students had fun, had science, and had cross-curricular activities where kids were hands-on, and that I could reinforce standards being taught in the classroom. So in the first week of STEAM class, I asked kids if they could do any project, any project whatsoever, to write it down. And so almost every grade level, the majority of the students did rockets and volcanoes. So then it was my job to figure out how am I going to tie those to standards and if they could do it. So I wrote a grant for the school foundation, and I was awarded it, and I bought model rockets, got them delivered to my house, and thought, really didn't think our kids could handle putting them together, especially the younger ones. So I put them together, and then what we did, little rockets, Alka-Seltzer rockets, which goes over chemical change and reaction with the students. So they placed an Alka-Seltzer in water in a foam canister, had a little history lesson on what a foam canister was, and they were able to set those off outside. They loved it. The kids got to take the foam canisters home and repeat the projects at home. And then we went outside and we all set off rockets together, did a demonstration together. I think Mr. Cowart even got to set one off for us. And the kids loved it. And then when I left STEAM, we wanted to continue that. And so Ms. Hires took that over the following year, and she kind of did the same thing. We got Mr. Horvath over from JVE, and he had done a rocket project over there at JVE. And so we kind of continued that at West to just get the kids really excited about science.
Don't mind the puns, I love them.
We're dealing with fractions in math, and it's really cool to be able to implement fractions in what they're doing because they're starting to realize I have to measure. And measurement is all fractions, especially with the American Standard, not necessarily metric, but they're getting measurement because of our lesson fractions. So the students are learning about measurement. They're learning a lot about the industry of the aerospace technology and rockets. So, you know, one of the things too is building space. Some of the students have a coordination build, and they're really good builders and really detailed. Other students, they're not as detailed, and that's where some other people can come in and help with that. But they're really good flyers. They have to be able to figure out in the launch the wind direction, what angle to apply the launch rod, and where the recovery, where the wind is going to blow the rocket to. Because we don't have a huge space. So they have to take a lot of that into consideration. There's some physics there. They don't really realize that they're learning this stuff, but they are. It's funny when they don't make the right choices and they try to take shortcuts or something, something will go wrong. This year, one of our students, she didn't quite pack the parachute properly, and she learned that lesson very quickly because, well, she was actually listening to her dad, and her dad was telling her what to do, and the parachute didn't deploy. So the rocket went up and came straight back down and stuck straight in the ground, and we call that long target. So, and that's happened a few times with our students. So, and it's kind of funny when that happens. So, this year, I pushed, seeing as though I already had the equipment from last year, I pushed this year to include more of the students, and through the Lee County Education Foundation, I got a grant so that every fifth grader is able to have their own rocket and build the rocket and launch it and take it home. My goal with that is to develop their skill in building so that they can go home and build a rocket and have the confidence to do it at home, so they can continue that process. Yes, I originally started the rocketry program over at U.S. Bullitt when I was teaching second grade. And I was very astounded by the level of support that I received from the parents. And they wanted to come out, they wanted to be part of that. And that really shocked me. So when I moved to fifth grade, I wanted to continue that with them at that point. When I introduced a kit to them to build, they had the option of designing it with different configurations. That incorporated a lot of competition between the students, and there was a lot of science, the investigation process, the scientific method. They were wanting to know what rocket was going to fly the highest based on what fin configuration that they were having. So they were researching aerodynamic drag, and then they wanted to race. So that kind of put me in a position, because I didn't have the equipment at that point to really do that. So I went home and called out to a bunch of other rocket clubs, and I just started asking questions. And these other clubs started donating rocket stuff and equipment, and of course the advice. And it was just amazing the support that they had, because I was a teacher. And I have engineers from NASA telling me that as a teacher, I'm making more of an influence, or having more of an influence on students than they ever would, and they would do anything to support that. It was quite moving, to see that level of support. So, here, teaching fifth grade, last year with Rocket Day, I had the same thing, the support from parents. It's fascinating to see the parents coming out, helping out, the dads that are coming out to be involved, and the competition and the science that's involved. And it's really exciting when you're out there and you step back and you look at it. There's not a single student that's sitting on their cell phone. Not a single parent. They're folding parachutes, they're working with their rockets. Dads are standing right by their daughter's side, building the rockets, setting it up. Very family oriented, and it's just exciting to see.
Sorry, I love my cheesy puns. So I couldn't speak any more better than Mr. Horvath, who is very passionate about this and, has expanded it, volunteering his Saturdays to go out there and provide this opportunity for families. But the girls can tell you how much they love it. So I'm going to invite Claire Dickens and Aubrey Hardy up to kind of share some of the things that they do at the Rocket Club. So I'm going to have you girls stand right here so that everybody can see you, okay? But Claire first wants to share the lawn dart.
So the example that he showed in the video is a lawn dart, and it went in the ground about that far, I want to say, and it bent this whole side. And it kind of unraveled some of the teeth drop, and it broke the rocket, so this is probably not going to fly anymore.
So I'm going to teach you a little bit about what's inside the rocket. So this is called.
Is it the dog barf?
No,
No.
I can show you all the dog bark.
They love
This
things.
right here is dog bark, and that's recovery warning, so that whenever your motor goes off, that it doesn't go all the way through the rocket.
What's it called?
Dog bark.
Okay.
You heard it right.
I did not was hearing that.
Real technical term we got here, so. It's a rocket term, so.
So yes.
The simplest answer is the best answer.
And so first you have to put the covering wadding, the dog bark, into the rocket.
And you just want a little bit less than a handful. And then we have a stick to push it down all the way. And there's something inside of it that stops it, so you can really just push it down till it stops.
And then, how to hold a parachute, you can put baby powder in it.
So whenever it's coming out,
So you can put baby powder in it, so whenever it's coming out, it slides better.
and it's nice
And
and
it
easy when
opens.
it comes out, so it doesn't stick.
It has a little bit of baby powder in it, so you don't really need to put any in it.
So then you grab the center right there and you pull it. And this one's works. So you lay it down and you fold the sides in. And then you fold it about 1/4 of it, and then you roll it nice and tight. And then you twist it around, and you've got to make sure that you don't overlap it. So whenever it comes out, it's a nice smooth finish.
And you gotta put the shock cord inside the rocket before the parachute, so it's easier for it to come out. And put the parachute in.
See how since we wrapped it nice and tight, it goes in there.
And it should slide in nice and easily. You have to shove it in.
And then now that
it's
you
too
can see that it
small.
comes out like this, make sure that it's not too tight in there. And then
I feel like they need a YouTube channel. We're mesmerized.
And so we have the engines here. You have to have the right amount of power to light them off.
yes, so we have, I'm pretty sure it's called a bike clip right here. So whenever you put your motor in, it fits nice and tight in there. so that it holds it.
And there's different types of engine. So this is a C. I'm going to show you the B. So a B engine is an A and an A engine combined together to make a B. And then 6 means how long it's going up. Yeah, that's
light charge.
No, that's not the fourth. The 6 means how far it's going to go up for 6 seconds. And then the 4 means the delay. So it's just cruising and it's going to arch. And then when the 4 seconds is up, the parachute will deploy.
Which one's stronger? Is there a stronger one or a higher one? I guess
Yes,
This is the highest.
the C65 is the highest that should go into here, because if we go to a D, you're probably not going to get it back. So,
And it won't fit because
I wanna
they
see
have
a D.
different diameters.
So this year, the plan is 3rd and 4th grade will do rockets in groups. So groups of 5 or 6 will build it during their STEAM unit. 5th grade, thankfully through the Levy Education Foundation, every student will have an opportunity to build their own rocket. So they are literally building the tubes, painting, the rockets. And then one of the last weeks of May, I think it's the 18th and 19th, we're actually going to have a rocket day where the groups will come out and be able to launch those rockets in our backfield. But what's really neat is that, the opportunity has kind of grown so that these students and their families can learn and build some of the larger rockets, and learn more about the propulsion, the different engines, It's fun to see. They actually have their own little Facebook group. It's fun to see, sorry girls, some of the fails, And, Mr. Horvath and I have a good laugh on Monday morning after, that Saturday launch when, one rocket goes off or they have to go hunt one. Somebody mentioned bringing a golf cart out and he was like, no, they're getting lots of exercise for this too. So, we're covering a lot of the math science standards and some of the health standards. So, very thankful that Mr. Horvath is willing to give up his, time and that it's kind of grown to help students become engaged because, sometimes science and math can be challenging, but when you put it in context like this, they see a lot more application and, who knows what rocket scientists we might actually get out of this, and we're building that passion now.
And we've correlated the rocket day with JVE's field trip over to us so that we can get that next little generation, that little group excited about rockets.
And so you have to put in the engine so that the hole is showing, so that you can put the this in so that when the shock goes through, it will shock that and it will make it go off and it'll make makes the rocket go up. And you have to make sure.
Mr. Horvath taught me. So this is where you put your rod through, and Mr. Horvath told me that it needs to go on this side so that the shock cords are going the correct way. And that in that case, then it's going to go up correct since it's right here. Then it's just going to kind of.
Yeah, and you have to put it into where, because if you put it in, because the hole is going like this, so you can't put it in here because it's going to slide
Knock
in.
it off.
Yeah, and so you have to put it on right here, and the white part is going to be shown, and then you use one of these little stumps to keep the shock in. So you just gotta push that down to where it stays in.
And with different engines, you're going to need different
Sizes.
plugs to go in. Like this is a bigger size.
And then you can pull these apart so that when the clips go on, and you
They don't
push,
connect.
yeah. And then that's where the RCO and LCO come in. The RCO is the range control officer.
Which I make sure that if there's someone in the field going to retrieve the rocket somewhere near the fence, that we know and that we know that they're a safe distance away, that we can launch a rocket and they know. And you want to tell them what LCO does?
LCO is launch control officer, and that just tells the rocket, the people who are on like number one, come on up and come launch your rocket, because there's different numbers for each pod, and they need to memorize their numbers, and whenever their number gets called by the LCO officer, they come up and they launch the rocket and they count down.
Make sure that we know what engine we're launching, how far we think it's going to go, so we know what way the wind's blowing, and so we know we think it's going to go north, we think it's going to go south, it's going to go 1,000 feet, which mine normally does.
Yeah. And
We appreciate you girls. Do you guys have any questions for these young ladies?
I wish we could go outside and launch.
Pretty much.
What's the highest?
Yeah.
What's the highest you've ever launched one?
I think it's an E-engine, and it really hurts your ears.
Wow.
yeah,
Is that pretty big diameter on that one?
Mr. Horvath had a Red Max.
Yeah, the motor's
And-
probably just about as big as this body tube right here.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one in the videos that looked pretty big like that. Was that it? Yeah.
Anyone put a little tracker on any of them yet?
Yes.
Really?
We've done a tracker on this one, and it went about, I would say, 1,000 feet.
That's cool.
They go pretty far.
That's very cool.
It's very exciting.
It is
Y'all did a
exciting.
wonderful job presenting.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
did.
so much.
I got one question for each of you, okay?
Okay.
What do you want to be when you grow up now?
It's not a rocket scientist. Mr. Horvath said, you know, you can work at NASA, you can work at SpaceX.
I would probably say either SpaceX or a geologist.
SpaceX or geologist? Okay.
Do you girls like math?
Very cool.
I love math. It's my favorite subject.
There you
So,
go.
what was your answer?
I want to be a child psychologist.
You
Oh.
want to be a child psychologist, okay.
Okay, let's start off rockets.
Yeah, right.
Let's go. Let your energy go.
Thank you very, very much. What a wonderful presentation today. So glad y'all came. Ms. Lake, could you come and present our audit findings, please?
Not that you want to, but if we want to get back to class, so we can work on our rocket, so by all means, so.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate y'all
Thank
being
you.
here.
Good job.
You know what the best of one does.
That was a better
This is going to be a reward.
Well, they got me following future rocket scientists. I don't know how to follow that up, but I do want to thank the superintendent for bringing these presentations, because it certainly is nice, especially in my department. I don't really always know what's going on, and so exciting to see. We have such great kids and teachers, and it's just exciting.
You're here.
Okay, so let's start with the not so exciting. I think on, do I have, what's up first?
Honors.
The audit, internal?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna start with the internal audits. This would be our school-based accounts. We have this audit every year. It is done by an outside contracted source. It is not done by the Auditor General's office, but they do look at this and the findings contained within when they audit our financial statements. Because of a GASB ruling, if our internal accounts are misstated, it could cause a misstatement in the financial statement, so we do have a lot more oversight now. We have Purvis and Gray looking for those kinds of things, misstatements, but also really they're looking out for areas that fraud could occur, those theft, those types of things, and letting us know areas that could be stronger or are insufficient. So we have 3 of the same findings we get every year, and I'll go through these school by school, not to embarrass any schools, but so you can kind of understand they sound worse than they are, and some schools have struggled a little more this year than others. Every time there's turnover, people have to get used to the processes. So segregation of duties, for the most part, we're always going to get that finding. We do not have enough staff in my department nor on campuses to separate those duties the way that the auditors would like to see them separate. Essentially, every function has a different person. But we have separated areas that create better controls. So we had an issue several years ago where some fraud and theft had occurred, and from that we learned a lot. So you have your bookkeeper making deposits, but we have someone else on staff that's reconciling the bank statement. So if that deposit doesn't match up or didn't show up in the bank, someone else is verifying that. Any deposit that a bookkeeper is making, someone else has given that to them and signed off on it, especially if it's cash. It might be a teacher doing a fundraiser, and you're going to see that's one of our biggest findings is how long teachers hold on to the money. Again, no blame there. It's just one of those things that they look at. So you should have at least 3 different people in the context of a deposit touching it. So if fraud or theft was occurring, you might catch that. Also, I want to thank the superintendent and the board for allowing us to impose some different software that's helped us collect and not collect cash. So we have like GoFan, we have RevTrack. RevTrack lets parents pay directly for field trips. GoFan is specific to athletics. But we got a lot of feedback from our bookkeepers, from safety concerns to just the amount of cash that was flowing through. It was a great concern for theft, and we know the incident that happened years ago, that was exactly what was happening. So again, thank you guys for allowing us to add some of those changes. The second one is cash reporting process timeliness. So that is how long it takes receiving the cash and getting the cash in the bank. It should sit in a vault in between, and it does, but there are dates and times that they have. I think they only have 5 days to get it into the bank, and there are certain processes there. So that gets held up a little bit at times. And then the one where it's coded as a significant deficiency, that just means that's problematic. That's where you could see some fraud occurring, so we needed to be careful. It was only 2 schools and 2 instances. 2 instances in a whole year, and it was 2 separate schools. And what happened is they processed a payment without a principal's signature. That should never happen. So we continue to go over these best practices annually. We go through things for bookkeepers to look at for fraud, because sometimes it's not your bookkeeper, it's the person on the other end, and they need to be able to identify what's happening. So now we'll just kind of go through each school, and I'm going to do a worst case to best case scenario. We're going to save the best for last here. None were really bad, but. So for example, Wilson Middle High School, we had a lot of new staff this year, so there were some processes that needed to be learned. So they had 8 instances of cash being held longer than 1 business day by a teacher. We only give them 1 business day. You don't want that cash sitting in their classroom or in their car on their person. 2 instances where receipts were missing supporting documentation. That doesn't mean they didn't have it, it was just not with the document when it was submitted to the auditor. Sometimes that happens. We had a missing check request form, so this is that one of the schools that didn't have a principal's signature where they should have had that. And then the last one was just an accounting error which caused a minor misstatement. It wasn't anything significant. They had an accrued liability that they didn't recognize as an accrued liability. So that's it for Wilson Middle High School. Now this school only had 1 finding, but it was the 1 finding that was a significant deficiency. So that was Yankeetown, and they just had 1 check that was missing that counter signature. Wilson Elementary had 6 instances of money being collected by a teacher held for more than 1 business day. 2 instances of money collected and not being deposited within 5 days. Again, it's sitting in that vault, but they have 5 days to get it in the bank. And then 2 instances of checks being issued or created prior to a purchase order in the system. Purchase order should always go first because that's a pre-approval. That lets the principal go in and say, I approve this expenditure. If the PO happens after, and in some cases it does, they are circumventing that approval process. Not all can be prior. There are certain times you'll see, especially, this has nothing to do with maintenance, but maintenance's needs are so fast that sometimes they can't get that PO on ahead of time. We have Bronson Middle High School. They had 4 instances of a teacher holding funds more than one business day, and 3 instances where the superintendent did not approve prior to a check being issued that was over $2,500. So that's a district policy. If they're going to pay more than $2,500 out of their internal accounts, the superintendent must approve that first. We have tried to get them this year to put a PO, put those POs on like you're supposed to first. And Pam, who's my financial officer, will go in, see a $2,500 PO pending, and she wants to see superintendent approval. If not, she's immediately reaching out to them. Chiefland had 2 instances of a teacher holding funds more than one business day. 1 instance where there wasn't sufficient documentation on a collection. Again, sometimes that happens. We have a report of monies collected that details the funding activity and the money that was collected. And then 2 instances of the checks being issued prior to superintendent approval.
So that was Chiefland Middle or High?
That was Chiefland Middle High. It doesn't.
Middle High and.
We don't, you know.
Okay.
These are internal accounts, so those are handled in the high school. Bronson Elementary had 4 instances of money collected. Form was not included with the cash receipts. So that we go back, this is a new bookkeeper, or no, I'm sorry, that's not, but we go back and we just continue to tell them it's so important to keep those documents together.
Is that the cash out form where you list the, when you
Yes.
do the count?
Yes.
That you
Yeah.
write on?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting them this year to try to get in the habit of uploading documents to Skyward so they're not having to track as much paper, because that paper continually gets misplaced if you think about the activities they do in any given day. So we're trying to get them to upload more into Skyward so it's there and they're not having to keep up with as much paper, and that's working well. Chiefland Elementary had 1 instance where funds were collected and held for more than one business day by the teacher. Cedar Key had that same finding. Joyce Bullock had no findings. So you can see kind of what, and if you notice, the high schools are just dealing with so much more than the elementary. So we do not expect perfection. We just want to be able to identify areas that we can strengthen. And we continue to do that year after year. The auditors did tell us that they felt like this was a really good year and they saw improvement. It doesn't look like that in the audit findings, but they saw improvement between last year and this year in some of those instances.
That's great.
So that doesn't require a vote, that's informational only, but do you have any questions about internal before I move to charters?
Thank you.
So the charters are really easy. Whispering Winds had no findings. Nature Coast had 1, and that had to do with information being posted on their school website, so that the public should be able to pull the school website and see certain information. And they have since remedied that based on their management response letter. And that was their only finding. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
At this time, we'll entertain public comments, so if anyone would like to address the podium and come up and with any comments or any issues that they would like to bring up, we're happy to address those now. Seeing none at this time, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Board members, if you've read the January 10th meeting minutes, and is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. We'll turn now to our consent agenda. And I know we've all talked to Mr. Cowart, but any questions, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, no ma'am, all my questions are answered.
Okay.
All mine were answered.
Okay. Ms.
All
Boyle?
mine were answered, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. I think all mine have been done too, and we don't have any. So do I hear a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes to approve the consent agenda. Thank you very much. Also, our finance agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much for our finance. Mr. Coward, do you have any comments or recommendations?
Yes, ma'am. So at this time, just want to call your attention. I know we're celebrating Literacy Week, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I'll let you all talk about what's going on individually, in your communities, and I'll also let Mr. Whitehurst talk about yesterday how we kicked things off. But it's also school choice, and there's a lot of talk right now about school choice, and I want to just publicly state that the majority of our students throughout Levy County, and that is any person that is school age, so they choose to come to our schools, to our public schools, and that also includes our charter schools. With that, we're running almost 87% of our students that are living in Levy County choose to come to our public schools, and so that is their choice, and that's why. So it is our goal that we continue to strive to give them the best choice option that we can. I just wanted to put that on the record, that if everybody understanding and knowing that we are thankful for the good works, things like the Rocket, things like Mr. Corbin put in place, with the football team and able to be able to roll out. So all the great bright spots that we have. I appreciate the board allowing our staff and our students to come and kind of shine and showcase the great things that are going on. And then I know there will be a lot of talk as we head into legislative season and different things, and I'm going to pass this out to everybody. Yesterday there was the governor talking about empowering educators, and I want us to make sure to understand that we are thankful. We're thankful when our legislators do put their checkbook to bring dollars to Levy County, and we appreciate the opportunity to be at the table to talk with them and to mold legislation that will not be harmful to Levy County but also be beneficial. And so I think that's having a seat at the table to be able to be there and talk with the people that represent us. I know that we had legislative delegation this past Friday, and I wasn't there, and it is I apologize for missing, but I had the opportunity to present a leadership project that's going on here in Levy County at the NEFEC Board of Directors meeting, that had already been booked, and there had been some scheduling changes, 2 other dates, that's why I wasn't in attendance. But had spoken with Representative Clemens and also Senator Perry a couple weeks early, and kind of sharing with them how our framework of what our platform was going to look like, and understanding to be ready and understand and know what was coming down the pike. I'm a big proponent that you can complain about things and not provide solutions, or you can come to the table with solutions. And I'm appreciative that this board has come to the table with solutions for our legislators when there's things there. So I just wanted to put that there. So there'll be some more legislation as we go through of things that are bills that are moving that I'll bring to you guys. And I know that you have a lot of resources through FSBA that provides that to you. But that was some of the highlights that I wanted to talk about, to make sure that that we are well represented, and we have the ability to disagree sometimes when things may not be what's in the best interest, but overall we've been represented by very good people that have helped Levy County. Just want to keep that first foremost.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We'll go to board comments. We'll start with Mr. Whitehurst.
First, I certainly enjoyed the Rocket presentation. That's been 2 Williston presentations in a row at board meetings, and been highlighting. I think Claire and Aubrey did a good job demonstrating, and I think good to shine a light on that. Mr. Horvath was actually been 2 of my daughter's teachers, so he does a great job, and obviously the administration does a great job. I'm certainly excited about the good governor bringing forth the increase in spending. That's certainly something that's everybody thinks about. Teacher retention and recruitment is certainly big in what we do. We know just shortages we have, and so that certainly was exciting news. And I say as far as Literacy Week, they had the Levy County School Foundation broke in their new bus they got, packed full of some books, and met up there with Mr. Cowart and Ms. Rollins and Dr. Hall and my wife Annie, and went out there and passed out some books and some gummy worms, all the different classes, and just kind of divided and conquered and did a good job getting it done. So certainly it was enjoyable, and certainly obviously literacy is very important to education. I mean, if you can't read, you obviously you can't be able to do anything involved in education. So it's important to foster that in kids and give them tools to be able to increase their literacy and their reading levels. And I know it's something as a school district we work hard at doing, and I appreciate that and look forward to all the other exciting things that Literacy Week bring into the schools. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mincy.
I don't have a lot. I love STEAM projects. I love the presentation. I think these girls were a testament to our teacher, Dr. Horvath. I mean, he's amazing. I had a mom Sunday night say that her son, her senior, was going somewhere. He wants to be an engineer. And she had gone to a camp growing up. And I said, gosh, I wish we had some kind of rocket club. I had no idea this was even going on. So it was amazing to see, because at all of our schools we don't have physics teachers. So you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you just think, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, and there's so many more occupations out there. So clubs like this are so important just to show possibilities to our kids. So good job by Mr. Horvath. Literacy Luau tonight in Yankeetown at 5 o'clock. It's a community event, so it should be fun and interesting. I love Literacy Week. It's always an exciting time. And just to kind of talk a little bit on, like, piggyback on Mr. Cowart, we had a banquet Sunday night, and our new football coach got up and said, I think over 40 years he's been a football coach. And he said that the behavior that he's seen, the respect that our kids have in Levy County is the best that he's ever seen, some of the best he's ever seen. So we see a lot of rough things starting these meetings and expulsions. We see a lot of the bad, but we have a lot of kids that are just raised right and doing good things in our county. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Boyle?
Homecoming and Literacy Week is together in Cedar Key. And they chose a disco theme, so the parade and bonfire, hopefully if the winds aren't too much, will be Thursday, and it'll all be disco themed. So the kids have been dressing up in disco attire, bright colors. The Rockets were great, and I want to give a shout out just as a part of that to one of the students at Cedar Key. It's Alyssa McCain, and she has been selected to represent all of Levy County, and I'll read it straight from here so I don't get any information incorrect. But she's been selected to represent Levy County at the statewide Sunshine State Scholars Conference in April. Alyssa was chosen for this award based on her test scores, her GPA, and excellent in STEM-related projects. So I think she'll be a great representative. Very, very smart and nice young lady. So I wanted to mention her. The delegation hearing, it was interesting. I know Mr. Whitehurst was in front of me a little bit sitting there. The senator and Representative Clemens, I mean, they listened. They had to sit there for a long time and listen to the good and the bad.
That's right.
Miss Kim Hudson, I just want to give you a shout out to your your speech and everything was wonderful when you got up and talked. I thought that was very concise and to the point and factual, and they looked engaged when you were talking. So it was nice. I went up to Senator Perry at the end and shook his hand and told him that you had that NEFAC. And I did tell him as a board that we're all working diligently on the platform and that we would definitely see him in Tallahassee. So he appreciated that. And I think that's it, really. The bus that you mentioned is coming to Cedar Key on Thursday. So I look forward to seeing that and sharing the books with the kids and reading some. That's it, Madam Chair.
Good, thank you. Mr. Delane, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Ma'am.
Okay.
But thanks for asking. I'm usually not shy about speaking up.
That's right. Anything, just let us know. I think we had a great school board meeting, and the presentations are just really wonderful. And to hear that teacher gives his time on a Saturday to do that, and that club, that's like, wow.
Yeah,
You know, it's just over and above and beyond. That's really needs to be recognized. And I'm really appreciate. I hope we always acknowledge, you know, our teachers and our administrators that do that. That's very nice. I did like that. Looking forward to our visit with Chiefland Middle High, and I think our elementary is going to join too. And
Yes.
so I think looking forward to that, and hoping everybody will come and join us. If there's no more comments, thank you all, and meeting adjourned.